Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation. On the channel we've got interviews, podcasts and content on all sorts of subjects from mental health, football, MMA and boxing, films and TV, conspiracy theories and much more. We've also got our unique series, Unscripted and Uncensored, where basically we have guests from all sorts of professions, whether we've had footballers, we've had fighters, actors, musicians. And then we just let you, the people, loose with the questions and the subjects, and they've just got to try and bat them and conversate. And it's good. It's good stuff. Looks, we had Danny Gabardon on the live Andy Campbell show last night as we record this. And he's agreed to do an unscripted and uncensored show in the near future, which will be exceptionally interesting. But today we are doing episode number 5 in My Story. My Story is a newer series which we've brought out, where we take people through their careers and their life, basically, and they just share memories and stuff as we go along. So far, we had controversial former England cricketer, Chris Lewis. We had former WBO world champion, Robbie Regan. We've had former Wales international, Rhys Weston. And, of course, we had, which is going to be out by the time this goes out, it's not out at the moment, is writer, broadcaster and the actor who used to play Lofty in EastEnders, Mr. Tom Watt, which was a really, really interesting show. And anyone who just thinks he's just like the actor who played Lofty is very much mistaken. He's a really cool dude, and he's just been through so many different professions. He makes documentaries for BT, he does voiceover, he's done radio. Interesting chap. And so just before I introduce my guest, my subject for today's episode, also we announced last night on the Andy Campbell show that we've got Cardiff City chairman Mehmet Dalman joining us next Monday. So I'm hoping to get this out before Monday, but it might not be. But if it comes out afterwards, check it out last Monday. Cardiff City chairman Mehmet Dalman live on the Andy Campbell show. And he basically said he will answer anything as long as it's polite. Then people in the live chat can ask away. So it'll be a real interesting show, that will, because he does not do much press and many interviews. So it's a big coup for us, and we're very, very happy to have him. But with no further ado, I'm joined today by Cardiff City legend, the one club man, Mr. Scott Young. How are you, my friend? Ex-Cardiff City manager as well, technically.
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Very good. It's great to be on. Looking forward to the next hour or so. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's obviously it's a mad, crazy time at the moment. It's all sorts of strange emotions, isn't it? I feel like I wake up with different emotions each day as we're still in lockdown. Feels like it's been forever. But you're also doing you're a bit for charity at the moment, trying to make the best of a very difficult situation. So tell us a bit about that, and also how you're doing in lockdown, as it were. Yeah,
like you said, it's a real difficult time, and I think we're in week 7 of lockdown now. So I've just been trying to take the positives out of it. Really, it's been good to have some family time, spend some time with the family. Obviously, we all got hectic lives, normal lives, and it's hard to get together. So been spending some time with them, and now focused in May on the charity bike ride. After a random conversation with former Welsh rugby international and friend of mine, Morgan Stoddart, we decided we were going to cycle 1,000 miles in May. Which, when you're speaking, it sounds easy, but trust me, 5 days in now, it's tough. But no, it's a great cause. We've recruited over 100 riders so far, and over £70,000 raised. And as I'm sitting here now, I'm just trying to massage my quads because they're in bits.
Yeah, well, you were telling me just before we started, that you did like 35 miles just today, and I was just thinking, oh my God, that's got to be painful.
And that's the rest day.
Yeah, jeez. I know you've recruited a lot of ex-Cardiff players. I know Andy's doing it, who obviously does the football show with us. And who else? Any other familiar names doing it with you?
Yeah, there's a few rugby players. Jonathan Davis is going to do a day with us. Josh Navidi, Liam Williams, the boxer, is going to do a day. Graham Kavanagh is going to do a day with us. So there's lots of top celebrities out there who is going to join us for a day, and obviously raise a bit extra money.
Not as brave as you, see. They're only doing a day, whereas you're doing every day. Oof.
Yeah, I got talked into that one. But listen, it's a great cause, and we're going to try and hit the 100k mark by the time we finish. If we can do that, it's a fantastic amount of money for Velindre and local NHS.
Spot on, mate. Cannot fault you. So what I tend to do with these My Story shows is we basically go right back to the start. You tell us a little bit about, where you grew up, siblings, that sort of thing, what it was like, and then we kind of go from there and kind of go where the conversation takes us. I like to do that because maybe we have a variety of guests, especially on this series. We've, like I mentioned there, just these opening 5 episodes, we've had all sorts of people. So not everyone is familiar with every guest. So I like to do that so everyone can get a kind of feel for you.
Yes.
So, take us back to the start, mate.
Yeah, obviously, a Rhondda boy, born and bred. So born in the Rhondda. To my parents, obviously, Billy Young and Jackie Young, born in 1976 in Llwynarbyr Hospital in the Rhondda. Raised in Trealo. Got two brother and a sister, both younger, Bradley and Lindsay. Brought up in a normal community in Trealo in the terraced house. Spent a lot of my youth actually up in Penrhys, local estate, quite rough in the day, where my grandfather lived. I used to love spending time up there, out kicking the footballs in the old car parks, and every school holiday spent up there really.
Were you always a football boy, or did you play rugby as well?
Through school, played all sports, and all my youth really played a lot of sports. Probably really didn't get into football till probably the age of 10, 11, really, when I joined my first. Isn't it? Yeah, it is. It was a lot of my friends had already sort of started playing. I used to sort of go around with sort of a couple of guys who were a little bit older than me, so they'd already started. And just went to Llwynarbyr Boys Club one night. Had a game of snooker, pool, darts. Then joined in a little 5-a-side game in the gym in the hall there, and it just went from there really.
Were you like naturally one of the better players, or was it something you had to really work at to get to the kind of academy, like that elite level, if you like?
I think what helped me physically was very good. I was always sort of a big lad when I was growing up. Always seemed to be bigger and taller and stronger, which helped me to play sort of up a few years when I was younger. So that obviously helped me when sort of people were watching me and asking how old I was. I sort of stood up in that way. Technically, I had to spend a lot of work early doors. I remember my dad taking me up the lane and doing a lot of technical stuff. That didn't come natural, I must say. But I think I just fell in love with it, and my dedication to it from the age of probably 12 was at the maximum.
Yeah, and I think, like, funny enough, you just reminded me of something which I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to ask it now just because it kind of goes into something you just said there, because you said like about your size and strength. So I'm 39, so I'm a couple of years younger than you, and like I was alright at football, if I don't say so myself. Like I was pretty good, and I like up to a certain level, I kind of was on like the brink of the academies and that.
Yeah.
But I often got told I was too small. Like I'm only, I think, 5'8" or something now. Like so, like 13 and younger, I was even smaller, and I always got told I was kind of too small. And I think there was a lot of lads like that. Like I remember when in the few academy games which I did play, it was a lot of big lads, like a lot of big, strong boys who'd matured that bit earlier. But then like two of my boys are in the academy systems now with Taffswell, and I noticed that particularly with the older one who's 15, like he's a big boy, he's a goalie, but But like, I noticed that there's almost been like a complete 180 with that now, whereby now they're more interested in what you can do from a technical point of view, rather than whether you're big, little, small, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's about what you can do, or if they can spot something within you. Do you remember when that sort of change occurred in maybe what they looked for?
I think
Obviously you've been through the system as a player and as as a coach and behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, listen, it's obviously different now with the sports science and everything we've got available to us in terms of these young kids. How much are they going to grow? When they're going to grow? What's the peak velocity and all this types of things. So it's been in a few years. It sort of went round and round a couple of times. I think people were looking for more technical players for a few years. Then they went back to the bigger, stronger athletes. Now I think you just got a general. Listen, if they got talent, if we think they're going to be good enough, if they're still small, we can give them a few more years to develop and grow. And so I think now size doesn't come into it. I don't think it's more about all the other attributes that
Yeah, when I
sorry, yeah,
go on. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, size only comes into it really. I think more with keepers. If we've got a young lad in who's only going to be 5'4" when he's 18 to 20 or whatever, and he's fully grown, then he's going to struggle.
Yeah, he's going to have to be exceptional, isn't
he? Yeah.
I think, like, when we had Kev McNaughton did Unscripted Uncensored, and he's been doing some coaching with the younger lads up in Dundee, and was sort of picking his brains a bit about that, asking him about that, and he says one of the things that he looks for, even more than perhaps size or even technical ability sometimes, is their mentality, how they react to making a mistake, or how they react to different setbacks within a game, as opposed to even perhaps how good they are, because you need to be able to miss or make a mistake and come back for it within that same game.
Certainly, I think that's the biggest aspect of any young kid trying to make it at any elite sport. The mentality side of it is massive, because there's so much pressure surrounding any sport these days. I mean, it's crazy and ridiculous. If you look at even our academy systems at the moment, we don't really get any competitive games until the age of under 18s.
No, that's mad to me, that is, because I played. So I'm assuming it'd probably be the same for you. As soon as I started playing football at probably 8 and the 9s, I was playing 11-a-side football on a full-size pitch, which I agree that that's not good, because I was too small. All of us were too small to be playing in full-size goal and full-size pitches. I agree that now they should have the smaller pitches, but I don't really get why you can't have smaller pitches to encourage technical ability and passing and stuff like this. But I don't get why you can't still be competitive. I think competitive is good if it's managed the right way.
Correct, yeah, and that you're spot on. That's where it's got to be managed the right way. We want these kids to be winners when they come to our first team. So they've got to be winners at some aspects right the way through. They've got to be in that mentality as they come through the age groups. You can't just switch it on when you become a man after 18.
No.
You've got to have it within you. And it's something we've done lots of international tournaments and competitive, so you get a good balance of all the different sort of games in, you know what I mean? So you can have non-competitive, competitive. It's a fine balance for players to develop.
Yeah, and I think they do in England. There's competitive tournaments, but for some reason in Wales they really they don't like it. I'm not trying to get you to badmouth the Welsh FA or anything, and I don't blame them entirely, but it does get a bit frustrating sometimes, where I know, like with some of my boys, where they've wanted to play in competitive tournaments in different countries, and they've got to get permission to do it, and it all gets a bit. It's like competitive is good, because there was one season, just very very quickly. There was one season, my youngest boy, from about September to say Christmas time, they won very few games. But from Christmas to the end of the season, I think they lost one game. So if it had been a competitive league, and with online and apps and all this these days, they'd have been able to monitor, we're bottom of the league, and then by the end of the year, they would have been in the top 3 or whatever. They could have seen their improvement, whereas so often they're almost told, "Oh, the result doesn't matter," and I just think there's got to be a fine balance between the result doesn't matter, just enjoy it, but also, come on, let's have a bit of a edge to us.
In my opinion, and my opinion only, I think that you like to say you got to have that fine balance of it all, really, because kids can develop in different ways, and some need competitive. Listen, 99.9% of kids these days are competitive anyway.
Yeah, of course.
So it's in them, isn't it? It's just and look, you've got to realise that it's different these days. Kids grow different stages. My lad, for example, was 12 years of age, would never have been anywhere near academy. And then at 14, 15, he ends up signing for Cardiff City. And that's in the space of 2 years. His body just changed dramatically, and he ended up signing.
Well, yeah, it's funny you should say that as well, because I know a couple of boys who've played alongside my lads who were in the academy system from under 7s, got to under 10s, under 11s, hadn't really grown a great deal, was still very good, but got dropped because other boys had caught up with them. But then another 2 years went by, and the same academies were trying to sign them back because they'd almost given up on them a bit too quick, And of course, don't get me wrong, every club, and I purposely didn't name the club, and that's not necessarily because it's Cardiff. There's Cardiff, there's Swansea, there's Bristol, there's a few around by us. The fact is, every club is looking for that next homegrown first team player, which they can either build their team around or sell on for money. That's just a fact of football, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's us Cardiff City. Obviously, I'm still employed there. Yeah. Our fans, our club, our owners, everyone wants homegrown players. If we could field a team of 11 Welsh players, it'd be brilliant. You know what I mean? It's that's what we want, and that's what we're fighting for, and that's what we're striving for. Hopefully, over the next few years, we'll have a couple coming through.
Yes, we'll get on to that in a minute. So anyway, back to you. So you were getting into football. You were really, as you said, you were very dedicated to it from sort of 12, 13. How old were you when you first kind of caught the eye of Cardiff?
Well, I think things started changing for me probably. I think I was 10, 11, joining Trinity Boys Club. And obviously, I had to make a big decision to change boys clubs first. I went to Ferndale Boys Club. Okay. Purely just for football teams. I left all my sort of friends who I bothered with on the streets playing for a different team. But for me, being single-minded, I wanted to play in a better team to try and get better myself, to give myself a chance. So I joined Ferndale Boys Club, spent a few years there, and then got picked by a scout when I was playing for Porth County in a school game. And I remember my PE teacher at the time just telling me that Cardiff wanted to take me on a trial. And that was it. Me and another guy called Ryan Oliver, who I'm still close friends with now, both went on a trial to Cardiff City. Went well. Obviously, they wanted me to stay, and obviously Ryan, we stayed there. And then, believe it or not, about a couple of weeks later, Swansea asked me to go down there as well. I did go. I honestly, I did go. And I'll tell you a little story. I trained once there. Absolutely hated it. My dad said, look, you'll have to go back next week as well. So I was training with both at the time, Cardiff and Swansea. And we was going over the mountain on the second week. And we had quite a nasty car crash on the way to training, which I've since classed as the best car crash I ever had. So
karma.
It was calm, yeah.
That was God telling you belong in Cardiff, I think.
Correct. So being a Cardiff City fan at the time as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Were you a Cardiff fan? before you went and became involved in the club, did you support Cardiff then?
Yeah, I did. Obviously, a Rhondda boy, and the majority of the Rhondda, or 100% of the Rhondda at the time, were Cardiff fans anyway. So, yeah, I was certainly a Cardiff fan and enjoyed sort of watching them.
So what is it, you're talking, 1986, 87? So was that, when Cardiff have been then? Division 3?
Yeah, would have been Division 3. It would have been, Roger Gibbons and all those. I just remember watching legends. Roger. Yeah, some great.
Chris Pike.
Pikey. But I was lucky enough. I actually signed, I think it was 91, 92 as a schoolboy, as an apprentice. 92, I think it was. And then made my debut in 93, I believe.
Okay. That's what I've got written down, 93, yeah. So,
yeah.
who were your favourite Cardiff players when you were sort of around that age where you've just been kind of gone to the trial, you've got your, you've got your foot in the door, if for lack of a better term. What sort of players were your idols then?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when I was like 16 and that, there was like people like Roger Gibbons, Nathan Blake was around there. They my earliest memories. Nathan Blake, Damon Searle, Ramsey. I remember Ramsey and people like that standing out.
So when you obviously as you got a little bit older, and you start to be around the club more and more, and then like you say, you signed would have been a YTS then, wouldn't it, back in the day?
Yep, £30 a week.
So for people who don't know what a YTS is, talk us through kind of what that is.
Yeah, it's pretty much the apprenticeship program now, as it is in this modern day. So pretty much you're a full-time footballer whilst being educated as well throughout the week. Obviously, it's changed dramatically since my time. So I don't know if you want me to talk about my working day or weekly. Yeah. So pretty much, I was to go in on a Monday morning. You had to be first in to make sure you had some decent kit. In those days, straight in the kit. Harry Parsons would have washed the kit over the weekend for us. Straight into the kit. Trained in the morning on a Monday morning. Done the gym in the afternoon. Done the weights and all that, and then in those days we'd have cleaned some part of the stadium till 5-6 o'clock in the evening. And then repeated that on Tuesday. Wednesday was an education day, so we used to go to college. The college up in Llanrumney. We used to attend every Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, back to training and cleaning the stadium, and then the game on the weekend.
Busy week then. So I will ask you a couple of questions about that, and also like a general question, I suppose.
Yeah.
First of all, from the education side of it, if you were, say, you or any player was failing in the school side of it, or you weren't getting very good marks, or perhaps you were messing about or whatever, would that have affected how they looked at you from a football side, or was it completely separate? Because I know at some clubs now, if you don't put the work in on the education side, they will tell you straight, if you don't do that side of it, you ain't going to play, and kind of they link it up together. I just wondered if it was similar back then. Yeah,
it certainly was. I don't think it was to the extent it is now, but we had one or two lads, obviously a change room, 20, 16, 17-year-old lads in the change room every day, and going to college, you can imagine, was a bit of fun. And we used to have a few lads who didn't turn up for education and didn't turn up for college, obviously. So, yeah, obviously they got punished by taking football off them. Obviously, these days, education is more of a focus within the academies because of the percentage of players who make it now.
Of course.
So we have to look after the sort of human being and make sure that they've got something to look forward to if they don't make it in football. But back in the days, you definitely got punished if you didn't do college.
And the other thing I was going to ask you about, which I'm not entirely sure where I stand on it. I think I know, but obviously back in those days, you'd have been, as you come up through the kind of YTS scheme and the reserve team and the youth teams and stuff, you would have been expected to clean parts of the stadium. You were expected to clean, I would imagine you had a pro whose boots you had to clean, or you just generally did it for, the group of you did it for all of them. They don't do that no more. Do you think they should, without putting you on the spot too much?
I don't think they should do what we used to do, the honest answer. But I think there's little bits they can do just to, for the respect of the senior pros and that. There's little parts they can do. I'm not sure what they could do, to be honest, because it's tough. But I certainly don't think they should do what we used to do. I mean, I remember the old Bob Bank. Remember the seats went in?
Yeah.
I remember it was a Friday afternoon, about 4:00, the Friday before the first day of the season on the Saturday, and we were home. And we were all sitting in the away change room. That's where we used to change every day. And Gav Tate came in, our youth team manager. He said, "Right, lads," and we thought, "Oh, right, he's going to let us go now, and what time we're going to be in the morning?" He says, "Get your kit back on. We've got a job for you." So we goes out onto the pitch, walks around to the Bob Bank, and there's about 20 buckets and sponges. He said, "Right, lads, you need to clean every seat in the Bob Bank." Oh. So that was like, we was there till like 8:30 on a Friday night, cleaning every seat. Which my thinking, I think things like that made me as well.
Yeah.
You can't do it these days, but it certainly made me into be the person that I am today, really.
So, as a father of a 15-year-old, I'd rather, and 15-year-old who plays football as well, I'd rather he be doing something like that on a Friday night, doing something productive whilst building a bit of team spirit with his teammates, than hanging around with his mates, or potentially, like, I gotta be honest, he's very good, but other kids maybe potentially hanging around streets, or just getting up to what 15-year-olds get up to at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, certainly can, and I know where you're coming from, but I think we can get these kids to spend their time more wisely.
Yeah, of course.
With the football, rather than doing that, let's give them another extra session. Let's go and do a technical session with them. Let's go and work on their left foot, work on their heading, work on whatever it may be. And I think that's stuff, that's where we are with the academy now. Where there's so much, individual stuff we can do with them, and that's what's taking over.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Did you have a pro, or did you just generally clean the boots of everyone?
I had a few. Yeah, I should have 2 or 3. I used to have Ramsey. Yeah, nice. Ramsey, who was a mad Irishman. Loved his boots, properly clean, nice and soft. I used to have Paul Miller.
Oh, Windy
Miller, who I still keep in touch with now. Legend of a guy. And then I used to have a young pro, whoever it maybe used to be at the time. Maybe I had Birdie Anthony Bird for a year, I think.
Cool.
And then second year was to change. I think second year might have been Robbie James or something like that. So first year you used to have 3 or 4 pros, and then second year you used to have like 1 or 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see the benefits of it, and I also, the other aspect to that, I think, which is lost a bit these days, but then you'll know more than me, is I think it keeps your feet on the ground as well. As a young professional, like particularly if you look in the Premier League, and of course you could sort of go back to Roy Keane's famous rant about all the youth team players having Bentleys and all that, but I don't necessarily mean to that extreme from a ranting point of view, but I just mean you do see a lot of young players who break into the first team in a Premier League side, and they think, that's it, I've made it, or they they make the first team squad or the bench or whatever, and then they think, for lack of a better term, the job's done, if you see what I mean. Like, that's been their aim since they were, 5, 6, 7 or whatever. Yeah. And when they get there, you've got to keep them focused, I guess.
Yeah, my opinion is, listen, I don't think you're a professional footballer until you actually make your debut and make probably 30 to 40 appearances in the first team. That's when you become a pro footballer. Not when you sign the form, because you haven't kicked the ball for the club, unless you've been fortunate enough to make your debut in the youth team. Like I used to say to my lad who he'd done a year's pro at Cardiff, you're not a pro. You haven't played yet. And that's my thoughts, and that's what I tell these young lads now coming through at 23s. You know, when you made your debut and you start 10 league games on a bounce and you're a part of that first team squad, then you're a pro.
Yeah. So, how old were you when you made your first team debut? Or before that, how old were you when you were first in the first team squad for a game?
Well, it all came at once.
All right, okay.
Pretty much. So, sorry, I lie, because a few of the youngsters were in the squad for one of the European games, which was a great experience. Obviously, just on the bench, but we didn't get on.
That was amazing for a young kid, though.
Standard age, maybe. Was it? I think it was. But my debut was when I was 17. I was in the second year of my YTS, and we were playing Stockport on the Saturday at home.
Bit less glamorous than Standard Liège.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but just trained normal up until the Wednesday with the youth team, and trained two or three of us trained with the first team on the Thursday. Which was quite normal at the time because there were smaller squads at the time. Done the same Friday, and then I can remember Eddie May pulling me in on the Friday and saying, "You're in the squad tomorrow. Tell your parents to get some tickets, and you'll be on the bench." And that was it, really. And I was elated. It was fantastic.
Amazing. So Eddie May, what a legend. One of my favourite Cardiff managers of all time. He is.
He's a great story about him. I'll tell you. He was brilliant. He was brilliant for me. I must admit. Obviously, went on to make my debut the next day. We beat Stockport 3-0 or 3-1. I think it was 3-1. You remember the game? Nathan Blake hat-trick. And actually, people will never believe me when I say this or realise this. I made my debut as a right winger.
No way.
I come on for Nathan Blake. Come on for Nathan Blake on the right-hand side of midfield against Stockport.
There's some shoes to fill. Coming off after he scored a hat-trick.
It was funny. It was iconic that day because... sorry, it didn't come off for Nathan Blake scored a hat-trick. I come on for Phil Stant. Sorry, apologies. And Nathan Blake went up front from the right wing. And as Stanty came off, Stanty actually took his Cardiff top off and threw it at my feet because he was tamping. He come off. So you can imagine me as a 17-year-old thinking, "What's going on here?"
Didn't know what to make of that, did you?
And Harry Parsons, who's a legend of Kitman, absolute, God bless him, he's brilliant. He just picked the shirt up by the side of my feet and said, I won't swear, but he said, "Don't worry about that." Him. So, yeah, obviously went on and that was it.
How long did you get?
I got about 20 minutes, I think. 20 odd minutes.
Pretty good, isn't it?
15, 20 minutes.
17-year-old on the right wing.
Yeah. Jimmy Goodfellow, God bless him, he was a physio at the time, just passed away, bless him. Who was magnificent for me in my early parts of my career because he'd been a coach as well and managed the club, and so he's a bit of everything, but he was a physio at the time. He, as I was taking my top off to go on, he just said, "Youngie, go make yourself a legend, and one of these Cardiff City fans, go and smash someone early on." That's what he said to me. I remember it plain as day. Go and smash someone. And obviously me, a dull Ronda boy at the time, within 5 minutes just smashed the keeper. And from there on, it just settled me down. And
yes, probably didn't get booked in them days either.
No.
Jesus. But so you were whipping in the crosses from the right wing.
For 15 minutes. For 15 minutes.
I was going to say, how long was it before you were back into defence?
I didn't play. I was in the squad a few times after that, and then, ironically, I made my full debut at Stockport away the same season. Oh, wow. We were playing at Stockport, and I started as a centre midfielder for about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And Jason Perry got sent off, who was playing centre half. Yeah. Not like Pezza, mind. And I ended up going straight back to centre half then, and playing the rest of that game centre half up against two giants. I can't think of their names now. Kevin Francis, who was 6'7" at the time.
I was going to say Kevin Francis is huge.
Yeah, Kev Francis, and there's another guy there who was 6'4". And ended up having man the match on my debut, and sort of my career went from there.
The rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
But so I meant to ask you actually before that was, were you a defender like all the way through? Because often you hear guys where they start out in one position, and then as they go up into senior football, they tend to change. Were you a centre back all the way?
Centre midfielder all the way through youth team, boys clubs through youth team. And obviously made my full debut as a centre midfielder, and then in the early years sort of mixed a match between a centre half and a sort of an all-in centre midfielder, a defensive centre midfielder.
Yeah, which I guess that's quite unusual in that. Like I know these days you have the CDM, don't you? And it's like the in thing to have a defensive central midfielder, but back in them days, central and midfielder they were expected to be box to box.
Box to box, yeah. I was quite fit, believe it or not, and I was slightly quicker than I was when I ended up playing centre.
In fairness, mate, you've just done 35 miles on the bike today, and for the 5th day in a row or whatever. So I'm pretty sure you're still relatively fit, even now.
Not this 16.5 stone body, trust me, but the mentality's still there. Yeah. And I think that's something that I was really strong at. Fortunately, I could sort of get through it and run. But I enjoyed my centre midfield days, I must admit. I enjoyed it. I was all action sort of type of player and loved getting in the middle of it in there.
Was it like a decision which like you made or the manager made where they said, now you're going to be a centre back, or did it just gradually happen kind of naturally?
I think gradually, naturally, just happened. The game changed as well as me as a person and as a body. I didn't have the best body in terms of injuries and that, and obviously centre half was an easier position to play physically, not so demanding as centre midfield, I think. So that certainly helped my body from an early day, because I struggled with injuries right through my career.
Yeah. So, so you're 17. You've made your full debut, Stockport away. Did you kind of retain your place after that, or was it still kind of in and out as a kid until a certain point where you cemented your place?
I remember having little runs then. It was like little runs then, pulling me back out, little runs back out. And then the story about Eddie May, because obviously he gave my debut and then he got sacked. Remember the time he got sacked? And then at that time, I wasn't playing when he got sacked. And then when the new manager came in, I started playing. I was playing regular every week. And then obviously he got sacked, and then Eddie come back.
Yeah, right.
And he come back on the Thursday and named the team on the Friday morning. And I wasn't in it. I wasn't in the squad. So a tough little Ronda boy as I thought I was at the time. I thought, right, I'm going to knock on his door here and have a little word, see what's going on. So I can remember walking up the corridor, a bath of sweat, banged on his door. And he said, come in, sitting behind his desk. He said, Youngie. So I walks in, sits down. He says, Gaffer, why ain't I playing? I played the last 5-6 games. What's going on? And he just looked at me with his massive head and swore a few times. I wouldn't say it. He said, wow, he said, I left here a few months ago. He was a little kid, 17 years old, and now my first day back, you're banging on my door, knowing why you weren't playing. And he said, listen, look, I haven't been in, I'll be honest with you. I've gone with senior players, experienced players. That's nothing to do with you, nothing to do with your performances. I've been told they're good. He said, trust me, just ride it out this weekend. You'll get back in, and we'll get you going again. And I respected the man ever since. He didn't lie to me. He said, look, I'm going with senior players and that's it. There's no comeback for you. Get on with it.
Yeah, and I guess, like, because he'd had that break, if he wasn't perhaps familiar with what had been going on in those games, or completely up to it, you're going to go with experience for that first game. You know, you just till you get back into the stride as a manager. Like, you
don't see that as a young kid or even as a pro at any level. No. At any level, but once you go on the other side into management and coaching, then you see it.
Yeah,
trust me.
Funny enough, Gabs mentioned we were talking about when you and him was the caretaker managers of Cardiff, which we'll get there in a minute. We won't get there quite yet. So Eddie May comes back. Did you get your place back in after that weekend?
Yeah, I got back. I think it was a couple of weeks. It was a couple of weeks after I got back in and started playing, and that's where my sort of career started. So I started going. I was consistently playing then after that.
Do you remember your first goal for the first team?
I think I do. I believe it was Exeter away on a Tuesday night in one of the lower league cup competition. And I think it was, if I'm right, I'm not sure if Terry Orth was in charge. I think I might be wrong, but I'm 90% certain I'm right. And it was a crazy day because Terry had come in and said we weren't fit enough. And he'd had us running on the Tuesday morning before the Exeter game. And we were all on the bus going to Exeter because we travelled on the day those days in bits from a session in the morning. And we thought we're going to get down here. We're going to get down here tonight and get thumped. But we got there and managed to get a win. And that was my first goal. Yeah.
You would never your managers or clubs would never get away with that these days, would they? Like a grueling session before a game.
No chance. Jeez. No chance.
So what year would that have been when your first goal versus Exeter?
The year after Scunthorpe game, so 94 would it be?
94, yeah.
Was it 94?
I would have thought, yeah.
Year after promotion, it would have been. I'm sure.
Yeah, because they went up in 93, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think. Okay, so you're a first team regular, still young though, still young. Who was the favourite manager which you played under?
It's good. It's a good question. I get asked this quite a lot, and I was fortunate as being a sort of one club man to get on with most managers at the club I had at the time. But if I need to say, obviously Eddie May, give me my first team debut, so there's a lot of respect for him there in terms of how he managed me and looked after me. Phil Neal, I really enjoyed playing under. Made me club captain and captain of the team at the time. And that was probably, at the time when I was playing, probably a lot of my best football as well. There were a few offers come in for me. So I enjoyed my time under Phil Neal. Billy and Frank Burrows, hard, ruthless men, knew he stood. I enjoyed their sort of management skills, man management skills, because you knew exactly where you was in the squad, and that's the thing. But the one who stands out for me is Lenny Lawrence.
You are not the first to say that on this show, I gotta say.
Tactically, fantastic. The detail we went through on the opposition and within our own team and structure was really good, and was just a real nice guy and great to play for.
So in the early part of your career, not so much later on yet, but like in those early years, so say up to about age 23, who was like the best player that you saw playing for Cardiff? Was there anyone you looked at and you were like, wow?
Yeah, it's obviously a few. Ramsey in that promotion year, the captain of the club, I thought was a fantastic player. Nathan Blake, technically, was top of the game. Used to love watching him. Derek Brazil came from Man United. I was a kid at the time, obviously, and I enjoyed watching him and playing alongside him. Pezza was great for me. Yeah,
very underrated, Jason Perry, I think.
Yeah, they don't make men like him these days. You know, what he went through, and we all did at the time. But his was up another level. The injuries he played with, and but there's one man that done so much for my game in a short spell of time that I will forever be indebted to, was Kevin Ratcliffe when he came in.
Legend.
Absolute legend of a guy, and was in awe of him at the time. But looked after us youngsters, and certainly looked after me when he was there, and I had the pleasure of playing alongside him.
That must have been amazing for you though, as a young player, to like you say, he looked after you, and you would have learned a lot from him. But then to eventually get to play with him alongside him in central defence, that must be, you know, you can't buy that sort of relationship in terms of like learning and education as a footballer, I'd imagine.
Oh no, he was tremendous on and off the pitch as well, not just on, off the pitch. You know, look after you, just make sure you're right. Any issues, bang, he was there. And Russell Osman as well. Russell Osman, to be fair, when he came in and managed, obviously being a top centre half as well, helped me a lot. So,
was there any players, like more so when you were perhaps a little bit younger, when you first around that first team, was there any players who you found like intimidating, or were just generally quite loud and boisterous and like taking a mickey a bit, and you know, the different era, I know, but
and I was lucky because I sort of trained with the first team from a young age, so there was lots of banter flying about, but I was okay, if you know what I mean, because I was in that. But like Nicky Richardson, Paul Miller, Neil Matthews, Nathan Blake, Damon Searle. Wow, you know, you couldn't do anything. They were on you, 100%. But in a good way. Ruthless banter. But that creates team spirits, and that's why they went on to win that great championship that year. You know what I mean? So yeah, there was some great characters about. Even Robbie James, what a legend of a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly,
like all those guys are the guys which they're like the first batch of Cardiff players who I, as a kid, were like, I knew their names, their positions, you know, everything about them. Like, and it's just there was some, when you look back, there was such a good squad for considering it was Division 3, Division 2, sort of standard, if you like. Some of the players there were phenomenal. Like, you know, all the ones you just mentioned. Just before that, you had like Cohen Griffith and Chris Pike and Carl Dale. Just
I used to travel for probably 2 or 3 years. We used to car share, me and Cohen. What a nice guy. Looked after me as well. I should have mentioned him, to be fair. We travelled from Pontypridd every day, shared the car. Quiet guy. Like, go back to Rock. I had sort of Spider-Man legs everywhere. It was unbelievable. He was hard to mark and defend against. But I was talking to Robbie James, going back to him. He used to ring me and say, what time train you catching? Like, on a match day. And we used to meet. He used to come from Swansea way, obviously, and I used to come from Aronda, meet at Central Station. And sometimes we used to have a stroll from Central Station to Ninian Park, have a walk on the way to a game, and just, you know, that 45 minutes with him before a game, it was just priceless, you know what I mean? Memories I'll always have.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. This just incredible stuff, isn't it? It's just those little things, like those walks to Ninian Park, you can never take them away, never replicate them.
No.
And what you didn't probably realise at the time was that you were learning, even when you were just talking to these guys, like, you know, guys like Robbie James, who've got a wealth of experience, and not just experience or like, but genuine quality, like really excellent footballers. So you had quite the football education coming through Cardiff, in your late teens, early 20s. When did you feel like you were a proper fixture in the first team in terms of your, starting?
Probably 95, 96, I think.
So that's quite late, isn't it? Like, considering, like, what we just talked about.
Yeah.
You were in that first team and that.
I played a lot of games. I mean, from the age of 17, I played quite, I was a regular starter then, if you like. But my memory's not the greatest, but I think, I'm not sure, it was probably around that time, two seasons in, 3 seasons in maybe, that I thought, yeah, I'm a big part of this team now, not squad, team. And was playing some of my most consistent football, that I've ever played, really.
So we talked about your first goal. We talked about your debut. We talked about your break into the first team. There was this one game which everyone remembers, and I do enjoy talking about it for some unknown reason. It was one of the best days of my life. I've had Cav on and we had a little chat about it. Obviously Andy likes to talk about it because Andy was he watched from the stand, I think it was, because he was he signed a couple of weeks later, but then obviously the manager got sacked in between him agreeing to come and eventually coming. But anyway, yeah. So the game we're talking about is, of course, there was an FA Cup. What was it? FA Cup third round? I forget. FA Cup game, 6th of January 2002. Leeds United were flying high at the top of the Premier League. They had Alan Smith, they had Mark Viduka, they had Harry Kewell, Nigel Martin in goals, they had Rio Ferdinand. They had
them all.
It was an incredible side, and a side which probably should have won the Premier League at least once, or at least that year. I don't think they did win the Premier League that year because I think many people say that game was the beginning of the decline of Leeds United, and you could argue. So, what was the build-up to that game like? Obviously, Cardiff at that stage were still in Division 2, League 1. Is it? I can't even remember if it had changed by then to the Championship and League 1 and etc. But you were basically in the 3rd tier. Leeds were top of the Premier League. Talk us through the kind of from when the draw. Where did you watch the draw?
Well, I was just about to say that's probably the first memory I've got of that game is the draw. I was actually watching all my mates play. I'm on our local pitch in Treallow up in Garth Park on a Sunday afternoon. They were playing in the Sunday Pub League, and I'm sort of sitting on the store and the bricks on the side, and I have a phone call, and it's my dad. Actually, I thought it was my mum. It's my dad, and he says, "You've seen the draw?" And I said, "No, I haven't seen it. I'm watching the boys. I'm watching." My brother was playing as well. Actually, my brother was playing, so I said, "I'm watching Brad." And he said, "Oh," I said, "What we got?" And he said, "Leeds." And I just went, "What?" I just remember like telling everyone on the side, but we got Leeds, we're playing Leeds. And so that was the first sort of memory of the draw, and then the build-up, obviously everyone's excited. The week building up, obviously there's a lot more press involved, and but the biggest memory I've got is on the match day itself, is going out for the warm-up. And trust me, I've never seen a stadium full for a warm-up. We normally go out like 40 minutes before, 45 minutes before kick-off, and there's maybe 1,000 or 2,000 in there, and they're just filtering in. I remember walking out the tunnel in Indian Park. You still see it now, walking onto the pitch and thinking, wow. And it was just hostile, it was full, it was loud. And
hostile is the terminology, isn't it? Of course, Rio Ferdinand said a couple of years later, didn't he? When someone asked him if he was worried about, I think they were playing a Turkish side in Champions League, and he said, "You are worried about being intimidated," or paraphrasing something like that. And he said, "He joking. I played at Ninian Park," and I always remember that quote. And of course, the thing which I think sometimes gets lost in it is Cardiff went 1-0 down. We didn't start that great, and they scored a very good goal very, very early on. I think it was the first.
It was early, 15 minutes. No, it was probably. I think it was a bit later. Yeah, maybe. But I remember in the tunnel prior, in the old Indian Park tunnel, and obviously Cabs was the skipper at the time, and I used to always be number 4 for some strange reason. I had that in my head. I'd be the 4th one in the line. And he turned round Cabs and just started screaming. He said, "Boys, these don't fancy it. Trust me now, they don't fancy it. We'll have these today." And from that moment, he sort of puffed his chest out and thought, and you look across them and you can see a bit of nerves. Obviously, they fancied themselves, but you could tell they were a bit nervous. They'd been out in the warm-up and it was hostile and loud. And we didn't start well at all. I didn't play particularly well for the first half hour, I don't think. But then obviously Cavs come up with the second best goal that day, obviously.
Yeah, well, jammy free kick into the top.
Yeah.
But I got to say, Gabs said last night. He said that in the days building up to it, he fancied her. Like he said, you guys as a group kind of fancied your chances. Like whilst you respected, that they were top of the Premier League, they had these amazing players. You fancied that you could go and guess them in, particularly in Ninian Park.
Yeah, I think we all fancied it. It was a big game for us. Obviously, we had a few nightmares along the way as well. I mean, I'm thinking about Martin Viduka, Fowler. So it was a tough week mentally. But yeah, as a group, we were a strong group at the time who fancied ourselves, and it just confirmed it for me when we was in that tunnel and the warm up that it was going to be a special day. Yeah.
So Alan Cork was the manager there. What was his reaction after the game? Before the game. Just in terms of building you up for it.
Yeah, Corky's team talks were brilliant. I don't know if Gab said anything, but
no, he didn't mention it.
His team talks were brilliant. He used to always have go at Gabs. He used to always just point at Gabs. Don't forget Gabs today. Blue, blue, blue. That's all you got to pass to. Blue, blue, blue. He should say that to Gabs everything. But his team talks were full of fun. High spirit. Come on, we can do this, and a bit of banter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then half time, it's crazy. And he sort of said half time, he said, "One of you boys are going to be heroes today. Or one of you is going to be an hero today." And at the time, he was sort of looking at that area. I can remember it.
Predicted it.
As yesterday. And he sort of said, "One of you is going to be an hero today." And the rest was history, I suppose. It's mad because, and this is so easy to say, and people laugh at me when I say this, but when we had that corner and I was running up, I really, really fancied it for some strange reason. And I never probably did much up until then, but other than the tackle, we had quite an okay game. It wasn't the toughest game we've had, other than the tackle I had to make on Viduka, but I just fancied it. And
what a tackle that was, by the way. I was going to get to that now. Like, people remember the winning goal, obviously, and particularly because Cav scored a worldie as well. Yeah. But I mean, that tackle which you made was so important, and I think even you and everyone just thought, no one's saw it come in. It was just such a good tackle. So it was one of them top tackles, which is one of those few things where people look at defenders and are excited by, by a really good tackle, as opposed to, you get like a winger doing skills or a striker scoring a goal.
I think it's one of those that
special.
It's a special tackle because 9 out of 10 you probably give a penalty away as well. It was perfectly timed, and I love watching it back. I must admit, I prefer that in the goal because it actually shows I was quicker than people thought as well. But No, the tackle was special, and that's what we're there for. It's just as important as a goal, obviously, for us as a team that day. Obviously, we had Neil in goals, who's got a good chance of saving it anyway, because he's a top keeper. But yeah, I love the tackle, being a defender. But obviously, I was on a decent goal bonus at the time as well, so the goal was nice.
What part of that game did you really fancy? Like, where did you feel like, hang on a minute, we could beat them here now, rather than pinch a draw or something like that? Was it not till the end, or was it?
Like I said, I believed at the tunnel. That was the first instinct, and then probably the sending off was a big one. That was a big one. That gives a massive boost. Yeah, massive boost. Leggy, crying like a baby. But no, that was a massive boost. And then, you know, when you score so late on like you did, you just got to hope and pray that you hang on for the last couple of minutes. So,
talk us through the corner. I'm going to play the clip at the start of the show when it goes out. Yeah. It's a corner to Cardiff. Was it Cav took a corner, I think?
Cavs, yeah. I can always remember.
You're in the penalty area waiting for your
next
glory.
to Leo. Always around Leo, because I know Leo was so big and gangly, and that he'd always disrupt defenders around him. So if you started in and around Leo, you always had a chance of getting free. Yeah. Always. Because he'd be like that with his arms, he'd be elbows everywhere. And so I can just remember. We had a corner prior to it as well. And he went for another corner.
That roar, innit? When the second corner goes, it's always like a bigger roar, innit?
Well, you could feel the pressure mounting. And then obviously put it in, and Leo's got contact to it. And it's just dropped down. Perfect for me, really. People
slow
talk
motion.
about it. Yeah, slow. I can remember Ernie. Ernie was there, right in my way.
Pushed him out the way.
No, I think if you see the picture of the goal, he's sort of turning his back away from the ball to try and get out of the way.
Can you imagine he got in the way of that?
He's surprised he didn't claim me, because he used to try and claim a lot of my goals. But yeah, it was obviously special, and my celebration was ridiculous because
in fairness, mate, I think those kind of goals, you know, like that, like Andy's at the Millennium Stadium, and you know, they're kind of those career defining, if you like, just those moments which don't come around very often, you know, whether it's you versus Leeds, Andy, Millennium Stadium, Solskjaer in the Champions League final. You know, they're kind of the ones which are played a million times for the next 20, 30 years. And longer.
No, it was a special day, it was, yeah.
Well, and you talked of the celebration after the goal. What about the celebration after the game?
Fantastic.
It was mayhem immediately after the game.
Carnage. I can remember walking in and Hamman was in there and his eyebrows were running. He had sort of sprayed something on them or something, and they were running because we tipped all beers over him. There was carnage. And the memories I got actually after it is, obviously we had a few beers in the change room. But I used to always just go straight home back to the Ronda. I'm a Ronda boy, and I used to go back up there after every game and have a pint with the boys. And I thought, I'm not changing my mind this time. This is what I'm doing.
No way.
I actually waited outside the Leeds change room for about 10 minutes for Fowler's shirt. Fowler came out and went back in and got it for me, to be fair. He was a legend, to be fair. So I've got that at home with me. But yeah, I went back to the Ronda because myself and the parents, we used to have the Collier's Arms pub in Triallo at the time.
Yeah.
Wow. I can remember walking in there with obviously my shirt and Fowler's shirt, and it was absolutely mayhem in there. It was carnage. So
everyone been on the pop all day.
All day, all day, and me and the missus were up there, and I think we left there like 6:15 in the morning. We got home, got to bed. Funny, got to bed about 6:30. I can remember Mrs. give me a nudge, like, wake up. I said, what's wrong? She said, there's someone outside. I said, well, what time is it? She says, 7:30 in the morning. I said, we only just got to bed. And I lifted the blinds outside, and there was about 4 Sky vehicles outside.
Oh,
Sky Sports. So I had to go up and do an interview at 8 o'clock in the morning. I've only just got to bed, hour and a half.
An hour's sleep. Like, oh, jeez.
So, yeah, great times.
Couldn't let you sleep, could they?
No.
But, hour's sleep. Got to go and do Sky interview.
What we didn't realise at the time, my wife had a good drink with us, and this is ridiculous, that she was pregnant at the time with my son, my first son.
Never.
And we didn't know. She found out the week after that.
God, you had quite the week. Week.
A hell of a week.
Jeez. So, Alan Cork left the club not long after that. And then I think it was Lenny Lawrence, of course, come in, and he did a good 3-year stint. And like people always say, Sam Hamman changed the mentality of the club to make it, to take us to the next level, which I do agree with to a certain extent.
Yeah.
He injected, a financial side, but he injected, I think, a change in mentality and a belief in the whole community, in the club, in the fans, in the players, everything. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he did. He changed everything, to be fair. And the biggest thing he changed was players' contracts as well, which people don't realise. I mean, I was in the first group of 4 to 6 that he wanted to put on new contracts. Obviously, around that time. And so, he lifted everyone.
When you say new contracts, what do you mean by that?
We signed
just like
bigger money,
just new
longer deals. But ridiculous money for what we was on, to be fair. It was like 200% increase for some players.
Wow. That's a pretty big increase, isn't it?
No, it was, and I can remember negotiating with him for months. I wanted a clean sheet bonus. Yeah. This was prior to the Leeds game. This was a clean sheet bonus I wanted and whatever. And he wouldn't give it to me. He would not give me a clean sheet bonus. He said, you can have a goal bonus. I said, no, I'm a defender. I want a clean sheet bonus. I don't want a goal bonus. In the end, he ended up giving me a rather large goal bonus. And I hadn't scored for years. And I scored 2 on the weekend and 1 on the Tuesday after. 3 goals. Yeah. So, no, he did. He come in and he was, for all his faults, and people talk about whatever he'd done, but he certainly was good for the club.
Yeah, definitely. I think
at the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Lenny Lawrence, I think, deserves a massive amount of credit as well for the job that he did, because I felt that he really kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
He took it to the next level in terms of...
he paired up what Hamman was doing as well, didn't he? On the pitch?
He did. His attention to detail and his training methodologies were... what's the right word? He was in front of the game.
Yeah.
He was in front of the game at the time in terms of his detail and that. So it was completely different training methods and that. So... and his man...
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, and his management skills were brilliant as well. He was really good.
So that was 2002. Obviously, you finished up in 2004 your playing career before attempting to kind of come back with Newport, wasn't it? Just talk us through that period where your career came to an end and the reasons behind it and
really tough.
It was like.
Yeah, tough times for me really. And if I look back now, I probably didn't deal with it as good as I thought I did at the time. I'd struggled all my career with my back from the age of 17. I had my first cortisone injection at the age of 17 when I was away with Wales under 21s. And I had a further 18 cortisone injections in my back throughout my career. With all the pain and issues I was having. So constantly in back pain. One day after the Leeds game, I was at home, literally, I had a few issues in training. My back, went to pick a pint of milk up and just felt this excruciating pain in my back again. So that put me out. And just all the degeneration of the discs and everything in my back, really struggled to find a cure and a way forward, really. There was a few operations that I could have had at the time. Obviously, it's a long time ago now. The medical side's a lot better these days. Had a conversation with one or two surgeons, said there was slight risks of doing the back operation if I was going to have it. And I had a young family at the time, so made the decision that full-time football I couldn't sort of carry on and enjoy my life.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's had spinal surgery themselves, it's not pleasant. So to do that as a professional athlete, I can't imagine. I can't understand how some guys do it and come back and.
Yeah, would I change now? No, because that's time surgeon said for a normal man on the street, you'll have a normal life and be able to get away with it. Just the elite top end training every day, you'd have to have the op.
So you left Cardiff 2004 as a player. What was the gap between leaving Cardiff and then joining Newport? Was there much gap between it?
No, it was the next season. So obviously I hadn't played for 2 years really. I played a couple of a couple of reserve games for Cardiff during the 2 years I was out trying to resolve the issue. But I hadn't really played, but was missing the game so much that I thought I could go to Newport, train once a week, play on a Saturday, recover, train once, recover. Signed there and lasted 7 games, I think, and the same issues I was having, not at the same extent, but couldn't get through games without having issues with my back, and didn't feel that I was giving Newport what I should have been giving them.
Couldn't shake it. So just before we move quickly onto your managerial side of it, you were capped at under 21 level and Wales B international level. You were called up to the full Welsh squad, I think, in March 2002, wasn't it? For a Czech Republic game, but I think you didn't make it on.
A couple of call-ups, that was the one that I was on.
I mean, I know it's clear you're disappointed, but was it frustrating to get in the squad, but then never quite get the appearance, the cap?
Yes and no. Obviously, it's a dream to play for your country, and to play for my country would have been magnificent. I actually got stripped at the Millennium to go on in the Mark Hughes once, and then somebody got injured, and I got told to put my clothes back on. But would I change anything? No. I enjoyed my career at Cardiff. So I played under 21s. It would have been nice to have a full cap, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we had a couple of people ask, what was your biggest regret as a player? Or if you had one.
Biggest regret? I don't think I had any regrets. If I'm being brutally honest, if I look back, there were small regrets, I suppose, as you go along. There were a couple of seasons where I could have looked after myself better, got in better shape, sort of performed better, I believe. But when you're a young kid, you don't see that. Now, I tell these young kids, every day's your last. Yeah. Give it everything. And if I had it all over again, I think my mentality was good when I was as a pro, but it could have been better looking back. And I certainly, if I had my chance again, I would have certainly be full tilted it again.
Cool. So I asked you earlier, who was the kind of best player you played with in the early part of your career? So from 23 to the end of your career, who was the best player you saw at Cardiff?
Best player I saw? It's tough. My favourite partner, playing partner, and I was obviously a privilege to be joint manager with him at Cardiff, was Danny Gabdon. I loved playing alongside him. His attributes were tremendous to play alongside. His pace, we used to have a great understanding of each other. I really enjoyed playing alongside him. Graham Kavanagh was the best captain I've seen at the club, to be fair, on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
He was fantastic to play alongside. So many, there's so many good players, but I'd say for me, playing alongside Gabs was the best and most comfortable I felt. I played alongside Lee Jarman as a kid, and we were big mates, which was really good. We had a good little spell together. I really enjoyed that as well. I think he could have gone on to be a top player.
Yeah, I think so. He's very, very, very talented lad. So Johnny Wish asked, is there a player from like your whole time at Cardiff, whether as a player or behind the scenes, which you thought was going to go on and be, like a top player, but then didn't make it for whatever reason?
Lee Jarman would be the player. The ability he had as a kid, as a 17, 18-year-old, he could have gone on and made it. Jason Bowen, what a talent.
Again.
What a talent. Should have played Premier League. Could have comfortably played Premier League.
What about Leon Jean?
Leon Jean, yeah, absolute incredible talent. Just the wrong mentality. Let him down to
around him.
Wrong people, wrong groups. And it's easy, to be fair. We talked about Lee Jarman. I was a big mate of him. I used to go out drinking with him. Probably if I had met my wife when I did. Yeah. And obviously got settled down quite young. And I had children quite young. Maybe my career wouldn't have gone the way it did. But, things like that happen. And obviously Leon got into the wrong gang and went the wrong way.
Yeah, we had a debate actually on the Andy Campbell show last night, or a conversation. Of who was the better player, Leon Jan or Ravel Morrison, and it's a difficult one to pick.
Ravel for me. I don't know. Leon was top of the range. I mean, I know we talked about when I was manager, but when Ravel came through the door, wow, what a player!
Special, like.
I remember Peter Whitnam, the first training session we had when Ravel came. We were walking off the training ground, and Witts sort of come across to me and said, if we keep him, we'll win the league. And that's from Peter Whitnam.
Yeah.
Who is probably the best Cardiff City player that I've seen.
Of all time,
of all time.
Oh, that says a lot. Okay, so let's go into your managerial career just to finish off then.
Yeah.
So you initially, you correct me if I get any of this wrong. So you took over as manager of AFC Porth in 2009 till through 2012, and then you went to Port Talbot for a couple of years, and then of course you were caretaker manager for Cardiff City. We did get a question actually, but talk us through just that decision to go into management. Was that something you had always been looking to do?
Yeah, certainly. I always see myself as a manager. More than an assistant manager, if I'm being brutally honest. I was assistant manager to Peter Beadle at Newport, and assistant manager at Tom Pentra prior to those. And after my stint at Newport, I said I'd never be assistant manager ever again, because I always see myself as a leader. I see myself as a leader on the pitch as well. So obviously the Cardiff experience was fantastic. Probably one of the proudest moments of my life.
So the question was, it was from Hugh Jones. I don't know if you know him or not, but he said, could you ask Scott, does he regret leaving AFC Porth for Port? I won't say what he says. He says Port something. Port Talbot. He said Dinas Park is much closer to his house, with a smiley laughing face.
Yeah, I know who. Listen, there's no regrets on anything, because you make them decisions to bet, hopefully bet yourself. Port Talbot was the next stop for me, and I had plans to go elsewhere. I was just fortunate that I was full time at Cardiff at the time, and they offered me to do the caretaker job.
So, when you took the caretaker job when Russell Slade was sacked in was it 2000? No, sorry, not Russell Slade.
Solskjaer.
Solskjaer was sacked in September 2014. Do you remember the call and how it went?
Yeah, I do. Just arrived at Treforest at the academy. I'd just taken over the under-18s. I'd been there for a few months. I had a phone call off Mehmet Dalman, just pretty much saying, get yourself to the Vale. You and Danny Gabardon are taking the team away at Derby on Saturday. I think that was on the Thursday. Yeah, it was on Thursday. And I was like, wow. No time to think. Just got in my car. Rang my dad straight away, obviously, and told him, and he was over the moon, and we're straight into it. It was just hectic. It was carnage from there. It was straight into it and get on with it, and boom.
Yeah, Danny said that he was really pleased that he got to do it with you alongside him, which I thought was kind of cool. Like that you both, you played together, and then you got to be caretaker manager of a club. Is that something that you eventually one day down the road you'd like to do again?
Listen, before that, to share it with Danny was, was fantastic for me as well, because we're quite close as friends. We're close as players. So yeah, to share that experience, and in terms of that, I think we're both sort of linked in quite well. He liked doing certain things, and I like doing other things. So we sort of done it quite well together. And I've really enjoyed the 3 or 4 weeks that we had as caretakers. Wish it could have been longer, but obviously it was different circumstances. But do I want to go into management? Yeah, I do. But I'm open-minded and see what happens in the next couple of years and see where it takes us. See where it takes me. I'm enjoying myself at Cardiff in the ambassador role at the moment, and obviously working in the academy. But I enjoyed a few projects over the last few years, and hopefully they'll continue. Do a lot of work in China and Australia.
Okay.
I'm enjoying that at the moment. Yeah, in the academy.
Are you able to talk about those?
Yeah. So my role at the moment, obviously working in the academy with all the age groups, working individually or unit-wise with all the different age groups, and then we got 6 full-time staff now in China. Obviously, we haven't at the moment. They're back home at the moment, obviously, with the current COVID. But yeah, they're based in Beijing, Shanghai areas. So go out and a couple of times a year to with Joe Lutton, the international manager, and try and develop and increase that. And then go to Australia twice a year for the last 2 years, working with semi-professional clubs and coaches over there, coaching teams and coaching the coaches.
Oh, okay. And a little lookout for any players out there, I'd imagine, as well, is there?
Always on the lookout.
Always on the lookout, that's the way. Okay, so just to finish off, we had a couple of questions which people sent in. Are you all right for time, yeah?
It's fine.
It'll only be a couple of minutes now.
It's fine.
So we had the same question about 1 million times, so I'm going to ask it. But we've debated a lot on the Andy Campbell show every Monday. It feels like we've talked about it about 20 times. But for the last few weeks, about what should happen with the season, because it seems to change constantly. It seems to be, it's a always developing story, I guess. My personal belief is that they should void the season, and everyone should just stay where they are and start again in September. They should void it. They should open the window now, and to allow clubs to sort out contracts and get players in, make sure they're sorted for next year, and then hopefully we can start in September, which I know is harsh to certain clubs, and I believe the FIFA should have stepped in 2 weeks ago to do that. Andy now believes that as well, but he didn't at first. But I think I've won him over. But people were asking, what do you think will happen with the season, and what do you think will or should happen with the season, and then sort of going on from that, how do we protect clubs who are really struggling at the moment, who are dependent on gate money and are like to pay their wages?
I suppose the first part, what do I think, or what would I want to happen? my mind changes every day. If I'm being honest, it's a tough one. I'm in the mindset. It's a real difficult decision because if we don't finish this season, when do we start the next season? We don't know. So are we going to have enough time to start and finish the next season? That's the first question. I would personally like this season to end before we start the next one. When that is, I'm not sure. Like you say, everyone's got to be safe first, and so I would like to conclude this season because I think it's important. A lot of teams have put a lot of effort in for 8-9 months, whatever it is, 8 months of the season. So I would like to finish it, but I understand that we may not be able to. If we are going to finish it, it's got to be safe for everyone. And then
I think it's got to be soon as well, mate, haven't it? Because just to jump in quickly, sorry.
Yeah.
One of the my main two reasons for thinking the way I do is one, it has to be safe for everyone, and that includes players and their families. And I feel like they're getting a bit forgotten where the Premier League and making all these plans and how they can get around it. But equally, if you're still playing this season in September, or you haven't, you're trying to finish it in September or October, it's not just the knock on to next season. You've got the Euros, the Olympics. These players could be playing non-stop for 5 years. And it's just not realistic.
I get that. But I understand that. And I think the next couple of weeks are going to be crucial in terms of what decisions the government make. Because what if we abandon the season, conclude the season now, and we don't start the next season till, I don't know, November?
Yeah, it's the same
what
issue.
Happens then? It's the same issue. So my point is, I think over the next week or two with the government, with the restrictions, obviously talk about the restrictions in the next week or so, we'll have a better idea of where we're going to be maybe in 3 weeks, in a month or so, and then them decisions can be made. I agree with you. If we can't conclude the season sooner rather than later, then we have to finish it and start fresh.
Yeah, I think so. And what do you think, as football community, we can do to ensure no clubs go bust in this time? Because we couldn't save Bury. And I think there's a lot of clubs in the lower leagues, and probably some higher up as well, who without this, gate money and merchandise and all the different things which they make money through on match days, who are probably struggling at the moment to pay their wages.
Yeah, no, it's a real difficult one, and I think there's going to be a lot of tough times ahead for football teams, especially in League One, League Two. The only way I can see anyone helping them is obviously the Premier League filtering money down to help these clubs. Gate receipts are massive. If you look at clubs in League Two and that, they live on gate receipts and things like that. No, if we're saying we ain't going to get any fans into stadiums till January at the earliest, maybe, these clubs ain't going to survive.
No,
for certain. So the only way I can see it is, obviously there's some big money at the top end of the game. We have to somehow try and filter it down to keep our game alive.
Well, I believe a good way to do that would be for Sky and BT and BBC or whoever is pay the same sort of TV money that they pay the Premier League to the lower league teams for this lockdown. Where you're playing with no fans, is pay those clubs big
Straight
TV
across.
money.
Yeah,
but
that may be what. Yeah, I mean, if we can in a safe environment finish this Premier League and leagues, and generate even more TV money, if we could, if it's safe, maybe that money then gets filtered down to them as well.
Yeah. Well, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? But
it's tough. It's a tough one. Today, do I think the season's going to finish? No. If you asked me yesterday. But I'm really interested to find out what's going to happen over the weekend. Obviously, the government are going to speak about restrictions on the weekend, and I think we'll have a better idea in the next week, 10 days.
there's so many issues to it, which we can't go into now because we're here for another hour. But just last couple of questions then quickly. Who is the funniest player you ever played alongside, and a story to boot, if you don't mind? That's not put you on a spot or anything, isn't it? Cheers, Gary.
Story to send. I'm just trying to think. We had loads of characters, to be fair, in change rooms.
So you've had a few over the years.
Yeah, I remember the lad called Gareth Stoker. What a character he was. Jason Bowen. Jason Bowen was a great character in the change rooms, always on the pranks. Paul Miller. Windy. He was up there with the best, Windy. With his banter.
Trying to get him on, I am. Trying to get him on.
Yeah, you get him on. I'm sure he'll come on. Story-wise, it's difficult. Some stories.
It's hard, isn't it, when someone puts you on a spot?
Tell
us a story.
Story.
Right. While you have a little think about that, what's the craziest thing you've ever witnessed or experienced on the football pitch, whether playing or watching or?
One of the craziest ones I can remember is playing Swansea away with no away fans.
Oh wow!
That was some feeling. That was the strangest. We scored down there and he was silent. So that was a crazy feeling.
They're used to silence.
I remember actually travelling to Swansea in those days, which was an hell of a occasion. We used to meet at the Copthorne hotel there, and the team bus there, and have a pre-match. And there used to be like 2 riot vans in front of us, 6 bikes either side of the bus. And when you come off that M4 into Swansea, and you see all the police on the roundabouts, and I'm sure they were all Swansea fans.
Yeah.
All them police down there, and you think, Jesus, what are we going into here? There's some crazy times in the Hamman. Some crazy times and moments at him fighting with Ernie and the rest of the players with the boxing gloves on, and things like that. Some great memories.
All right. Where can the people, number one, find you on Twitter or social media, and number 2, where can they donate to your charity cycle?
Yeah, obviously, I'm on Twitter, Scott Young 1818. So I'm posting on there every day. The link is on there. Same on Instagram. On Instagram, the same. The link's on there. So from us over 100, I think we got 108 riders. It's a fantastic charity we're fundraising for. So any help would be much appreciated, and keep me motivated for the next 20 odd days.
Indeed, yes. Send Scott messages of support and send him money for a great cause. I'll retweet and share it on all our social medias as well. And I thank you for your time, Scott. I really appreciate it. I know we went a bit longer than what we had initially planned. I didn't even realise until about 10 minutes ago, and I was like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
It's been good crack. It's been good reliving all those, for me, reliving the Leeds game, but hearing about your early career and whatnot. So I appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone sending questions. Guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/A.C.E Podcast Nation. Click the bell and you'll get notifications every time we go live. If you're a football fan, every Monday, 7:30, live on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch and YouTube. Every Monday without fail. We also go live on a Friday evening, adults only, and boxing and MMA show every Wednesday, and also brand new show every Sunday without fail. We got shows with plenty of Scott's former teammates. We got bands, we got fighters, we got UFC stars, boxers, Robbie Regan, all sorts, actors, anything you could think of. We got a show for everyone. Mental health shows with doctors, lots and lots of stuff. Join us and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next episode. Cheers.